What happens when one of Hollywood's most respected actors sits down for what should be a friendly morning chat show interview? In just 16 seconds, everything would explode into chaos as Joy Behar's relentless attacks pushed Samuel L. Jackson past his breaking point, leading to the most shocking walkout in daytime television history. Last night on The View, tensions reached a boiling point that nobody saw coming. What started as a routine promotional interview turned into an all-out war of words that left the studio in stunned silence and viewers at home questioning everything they thought they knew about their favorite morning show hosts. Samuel L. Jackson walked onto The View, set with his trademark smile, ready to discuss his latest film project. The legendary actor, known for his commanding presence and no-nonsense attitude, settled into his chair as the cameras rolled. Whoopi Goldberg, Sunny Hostin, Sarah Haynes, Alyssa Farah Griffin, and Joy Behar sat across from him, their usual bright morning energy filling the studio. "Welcome back to The View. We're here with the incredible Samuel L. Jackson," Whoopi announced warmly, her voice carrying the professional tone that had made her a beloved host for years. "Sam, thank you so much for being here today." "Happy to be here, Whoopi," Jackson replied, his voice smooth and confident. "Always a pleasure." The interview began smoothly enough. Sarah Haynes asked about his upcoming action thriller, her questions thoughtful and engaging. Jackson answered with his usual charm, sharing behind-the-scenes stories that had the audience laughing and the host nodding appreciatively. "The stunts in this one were particularly challenging," Jackson explained, leaning forward slightly. "We really wanted to push the boundaries of what action cinema could be." Sunny Hostin chimed in with questions about his long career, praising his versatility as an actor. "You've played everything from Shakespearean characters to Marvel superheroes. What draws you to such diverse roles?" "I believe in challenging myself," Jackson responded thoughtfully. "Every role teaches you something new about the craft, about yourself." Even Alyssa Farah Griffin contributed positively, asking about his experiences working with different directors. The conversation flowed naturally, with genuine laughter and mutual respect filling the air. But then Joy Behar decided to steer the conversation in a completely different direction. "Sam, I have to ask," Joy began, her tone shifting noticeably sharper. "There's been a lot of talk about actors speaking out on political issues. Some people think celebrities should just stick to entertaining." The studio atmosphere changed instantly. Jackson's posture straightened, and the other hosts exchanged quick glances. This wasn't what anyone had expected from what was supposed to be a light promotional interview. "Well, Joy," Jackson replied carefully, "I think everyone has a right to their opinion, celebrity or not. We're citizens first." "But don't you think," Joy pressed on, ignoring the obvious discomfort of her co-hosts, "that when actors get political, they alienate half their audience? Isn't that just bad business?" Whoopi tried to intervene. "Maybe we should talk about the film." But Joy wasn't finished. "I mean, Sam, you've been pretty vocal about certain issues. Don't you worry about turning off fans who might disagree with you?" Jackson's jaw tightened slightly, but he remained professional. "I believe in using whatever platform I have to speak truth. If that bothers some people, so be it." "Truth according to who?" Joy shot back, her voice rising. "Your truth? Hollywood's truth? What makes your political opinions more valid than anyone else's?" The tension in the studio was now impossible to ignore. Sarah Haynes shifted uncomfortably in her seat. Sunny Hostin looked concerned. Alyssa Farah Griffin stared at the table. Even Whoopi seemed unsure how to handle the situation as Joy continued her aggressive questioning. "I never said my opinions were more valid," Jackson replied, his voice steady but with an edge. "I said I have the right to express them, just like you do." "But you have millions of followers," Joy continued, leaning forward aggressively. "Doesn't that come with responsibility? Shouldn't you be more careful about influencing people?" "Careful about what exactly?" Jackson asked, his famous intensity beginning to show. "Careful about speaking my mind? Careful about standing up for what I believe is right?" The other hosts tried desperately to change the subject, but Joy was relentless. "I'm just saying," Joy said with a dismissive wave. "Maybe actors should focus on acting instead of lecturing the rest of us about how to think." That was the moment everything changed. Jackson's eyes flashed with anger, and his voice dropped to that dangerous low tone that had made him famous in countless films. "Lecturing?" he said quietly but with unmistakable menace. "Is that what you think this is?" Joy, apparently not reading the room, doubled down. "Well, isn't it? You get up on your soapbox, tell everyone how they should vote, how they should think, and then act surprised when people push back." The studio fell dead silent. Even the audience seemed to hold its breath as Jackson slowly leaned back in his chair, studying joy with the intensity of a predator sizing up its prey. "Let me tell you something," Jackson began, his voice carrying the weight of decades in the industry and a lifetime of experiences Joy clearly couldn't understand. "I've been in this business for over 30 years. I've earned my place at this table, and I've earned the right to speak my mind." Joy rolled her eyes, a gesture that didn't go unnoticed by Jackson or anyone else in the studio. "Oh please, here we go with the victim narrative." That eye roll was the final straw. Jackson's composure, which had been hanging by a thread, finally snapped. "Victim?" Jackson's voice rose, filled with righteous anger. "Lady, I don't know who you think you're talking to, but you've got the wrong one today." Whoopi desperately tried to regain control. "Okay, let's everybody just take a breath here." But Joy, incredibly, kept pushing. "I'm just tired of celebrities thinking they're political experts because they can read lines from a script." Jackson stood up abruptly, his chair rolling backward. The sudden movement sent a wave of shock through the studio. Audience members gasped audibly. The camera operators scrambled to adjust their shots. "Read lines?" Jackson's voice boomed across the set. "You think that's all I do? You think my life experience, my education, my years of witnessing injustice firsthand don't count for anything because I happen to be an actor?" Sarah Haynes looked like she wanted to disappear into her chair. Sunny Hostin had her hand over her mouth in shock. Alyssa Farrah Griffin stared wide-eyed at the unfolding disaster. "Sam, please sit down," Whoopi pleaded. But Jackson was beyond listening to anyone at this point. Joy, showing either incredible courage or stunning stupidity, refused to back down. "I'm just saying what everyone else is thinking. Hollywood types living in their bubbles, telling regular people how to live their lives." "Bubbles?" Jackson laughed, but there was no humor in it. "You want to talk about bubbles? You sit here every morning in your comfortable studio, making judgments about people you don't know, talking about experiences you've never had." The studio was completely silent, except for Jackson's voice, which seemed to fill every corner of the space. "I grew up in segregated Tennessee," Jackson continued, his voice shaking with emotion. "I lived through the civil rights movement. I watched my people fight and die for basic human dignity. And you're going to sit there and tell me I don't have the right to speak about justice?" Joy's face had gone pale, but she still wouldn't let it go. "That's not what I said." "That's exactly what you said." Jackson shot back. "You said I should stick to acting. You said I should be careful about influencing people. As if my experiences, my knowledge, my conscience don't matter because I happen to work in entertainment." Whoopi made one last desperate attempt to save the interview. "Sam, we respect everything you've been through." Jackson turned to Whoopi, his expression softening slightly. "I know you do, Whoopi, but your colleague here seems to think my opinions are somehow less valid because of my profession." Joy, incredibly, chose this moment to make things even worse. "I never said less valid. I just think celebrities should be more responsible about their platforms." "Responsible?" Jackson's voice dropped to that dangerous whisper again. "Responsible like staying quiet when I see injustice? Responsible like pretending everything is fine when it's not? Responsible like letting people like you decide what I'm allowed to care about?" The camera caught every moment of Joy's face crumbling as she realized she had gone too far. But it was too late. Jackson was already moving toward the edge of the set. "You know what?" Jackson said, his voice now eerily calm. "I came here to talk about my movie, to have a nice conversation with some folks I thought were professionals. Instead, I get lectured by someone who apparently thinks my life experiences don't qualify me to have opinions about my own country." He started unbuttoning his microphone, his movements deliberate and final. Sarah Haynes finally found her voice. "Sam, please don't go. This isn't what any of us wanted." Jackson looked at her with genuine kindness. "I know it's not what you wanted, Sarah. You've been nothing but respectful. Same goes for Sunny and Alyssa. But I won't sit here and be disrespected by someone who clearly has no idea what she's talking about." Joy made one final catastrophic attempt to justify herself. "I was just trying to have an honest conversation about celebrity responsibility." Jackson stopped dead in his tracks and turned back to face her. "Honest conversation? Is that what you call ambushing a guest with your personal political agenda? Is that what you call dismissing someone's life experiences because you don't like their profession?" The silence that followed was deafening. Even Joy seemed to finally understand the magnitude of her mistake. "I have spent my entire career being professional," Jackson continued, his voice steady but filled with disappointment. "I have never walked out of an interview in my life but I will not sit here and be treated like some naive fool who doesn't understand the world because I happen to make movies for a living." He finished removing his microphone and handed it to a stunned production assistant. "Whoopi, you've always been class," Jackson said, nodding to the longtime host. "Sarah, Sunny, Alyssa, you ladies keep being the professionals you are. As for you," he turned to Joy one final time, "maybe next time you should learn something about your guests before you decide to attack them." With that, Samuel L. Jackson walked off the view set, leaving behind a stunned studio, a mortified Joy Behar, and what would undoubtedly become one of the most talked about moments in daytime television history. The cameras continued rolling as Joy sat in shocked silence, finally understanding that her aggressive tactics had backfired spectacularly. The other hosts looked anywhere but at her, the awkward silence speaking volumes about what had just transpired. In those final moments before commercial break, viewers witnessed something unprecedented. A respected Hollywood legend standing up for himself with dignity and grace, while exposing the unprofessional behavior of a host who had clearly overstepped every boundary of decent interviewing. The explosive confrontation was over, but the impact would be felt long after the cameras stopped rolling.